This is actually the second meeting we're having, an innovation team meeting around social media for our Lucy Hobbs project. And we're really excited today. We have with us Crystal Washington, who's really a guru on the topic of social media. And really what we want to be able to accomplish is have Crystal share with you. So she's going to be actually outlining the cultures of the largest social networks and really talk about the best ways to use each of them for your practices. And then also understand how age and other demographics can affect your social media strategy. And throughout it, Crystal's going to be giving you some really good tips to grow engagement and to actually get more followers. So, and then we'll definitely have time for questions at the end. So we do want to actually just do some introductions. I'm going to pass it over to Kathleen in a minute just to talk about our Lucy Hobbs project and what we're trying to do around innovation, and then we'll introduce Crystal. Julie Radziminski is on the line. Julie is Director of Business Innovation here at Benco Dental. And Kathleen Bird, who is taking role for us, is one of our business innovation strategists. I'm Terry Barrett. And like I said, we're really excited to have Crystal Washington with us today. Crystal is definitely a guru. She's written a book. It's called The Social Media Why. We'll give you information on how you can obtain that. But what I really like about it, the subtitle is It's a Busy Professional's Practical Guide to Using Social Media. And the key there is everyone's busy. You have dental practices to run. And really what you want to be able to do is get, what is the most effective things that you could do to use social media to really increase business at your practice. So that's why we've asked Crystal to join us today. And before we turn it over to Crystal, we are just going to ask Catherine to talk a little bit about Lucy Hobbs and the project and how it relates to innovation.
Thank you, Terry. Lucy Hobbs, in case you don't know, was the first female dentist. And we celebrate here at Benco her tenacity. Lucy Hobbs was deterred from entering dental school at the time in 1866. Prior to that, and her tenacity to go out and learn as much as she can, do internships and work with male dentists eventually led her to the Ohio College of Dental and Surgery, where she did eventually get her degree in 1865. So the Lucy Hobbs Project empowers women in dentistry, and we try to incorporate the need to drive change and deliver success through three key pillars. Those are networking, innovation, and giving back. And networking, we have a variety of networking events throughout the United States. If anybody would like to learn more about our networking events coming up for 2014, please join our Lucy Hobbs website at www.thelucyhobbsproject.com or our Facebook page. Innovation, the other pillar is innovation, which provides opportunities for creative minds to get together and innovate the future of the dental industry. It says everything from product to service to education and professional development. And we do innovation through our phone calls and our networking groups. And again, as Terry reiterated, this is one of our innovation phone calls, so thank you all for joining. And the third portion for the Lucy Hobbs Project is give back. We want to give back to the communities, specifically in providing dental care for those who can't afford it. So those are the three key pillars of the Lucy Hobbs Project: networking, innovation, and give back. And again, for further information, please join our website where you can find more about our networking events or our Facebook page. And if anybody has any other questions, feel free to contact any one of us at any other time to discuss the Lucy Hobbs Project. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Kathleen. So now we're going to be turning it over to Crystal Washington. So I'm going to stop presenting so that Crystal can take over. And I just want to reiterate a few things. So we have muted the lines, but again, you can ask a question in the link window. You can actually type it in. Or if you want to unmute your line so that you could ask a question, hit *6 and ask your question. So we definitely want it to be interactive. The only reason we're muting it is just sometimes there's background noise and can hurt the effectiveness of the call. All right, so Crystal, Take it away.
Thank you so much. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Well, first I want to welcome everyone to the Lucy Hobbs Innovations meeting call. This is the second one where we're talking about social media. The first one that we had together a couple months ago, there was a few people that shared some of their tips and tricks, and so this one we're going to get a little bit deeper into the conversation about how you leverage social media. The reason I actually chose this picture as well is because sometimes, social media is extremely powerful, but it can also be overwhelming, so I thought this picture was fitting. As Terry said, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the presentation, and then at the end we're going to take questions. If you have a question as we go along and you don't want to forget that question, go ahead and type that in the comment box. And if you want to ask it by voice, you can just wait until the end, and everyone will be unmuted, and you'll have the opportunity to speak then. So let's go ahead and get into the presentation. The first thing that I want to point out as we get started is that social media has really shifted the way that we interact with the world and each other. And so I think pretty much all of us at some point have seen a baby with an iPad or some form of mobile technology. It seems to be something that's second nature. But this technology revolution is not just affecting children, as much as we often tend to believe it is. That's not the case. When we go to restaurants now, instead of seeing people sitting at tables talking to each other, oftentimes we see them texting other people, taking those annoying food pictures that we pretty much all universally hate. And with younger people, sometimes you'll even see them texting each other at the table. And so we're seeing a shift here. This is an actual picture that a police officer took when he pulled over someone who was weaving in traffic. And so this is how connected we are to technology. Hopefully none of us have a mobile office like this. This is a totally different level. But when we look at how connected we are to technology, most of you listening to me right now, you're very much connected to your smartphone. Many of you sleep with your smartphone. If someone asks to use your smartphone, it feels a little icky, and sometimes we can't even distinguish why that is, because of course 15 years ago, if someone asked to use your home phone, it wasn't weird. But when someone asks to use your mobile phone, it kind of gives you that icky feeling because it's not just a phone anymore. It doesn't just call people. Not only can you use it for social media, but your precious pictures are stored there. Many of us do our banking from our phones. We use phones for our GPS, and so really it's become an attachment to us. It's our personal accessory. And many of us, if we happen to leave out of the house without it, not only do we feel nude, but oftentimes we will turn back around to go get it. Now, one of the reasons that we're seeing this connection to technology, and I think we probably all know people personally who almost seem overly connected, is because we actually are becoming addicted to technology, and there's some people that actually have an addiction. And so I think it's important first to understand that prior to social media, oxytocin is a brain chemical that's released for the most part when someone gives you a hug or touches you in a positive way, and you kind of feel that love emotion. Oxytocin is then released. Now, for those of you that are on social media, especially Facebook, I'm sure there have been times where you've been looking through your timeline, and at one point you see something that makes you happy. You scroll down to the next story, something enrages you. You scroll down to the next story, it's something that just breaks your heart. It's so sad. All these changes in emotions happening so quickly can release adrenaline. When you mix these two brain chemicals, that is a recipe for addiction. And so we really are becoming addicted to our mobile technology. Now, it's not my job to judge it as a marketer. My job is to figure out how we can actually use this fact in business. Now, I do want to point out as we get ready to get into some of the strategies and going into the social networks into more specifics, that there definitely is a dark side to social media. And this is the one thing that many people don't talk about, especially when you're talking to people that say that they're social media experts or strategists or whatever. I'm a firm believer that we have to understand the dangers of it. If we're not very careful with social media, bad information can spread very, very quickly. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about things involving politics, whether we're talking about home medical cures, which can actually overlap into dental issues as well. I'm sure you've seen some pretty ridiculous and funky posts about ways to battle dental diseases and things that aren't really accurate. Additionally, we have to be careful that we do not overshare to the point that we put ourselves in danger. And then lastly, I would say that we just have to make sure sure that we're adding value when we're there. So there's a dark side, but if we're aware of the fact that social media is neutral, like money, then we know that we can use it for good or evil, and hopefully we're going to use it to be a positive force, especially in the lives of your patients and prospects, and add value to them. So our agenda today, the first thing we're going to do is look at an overview of the external social networks. And I say external social networks because they're, depending on your organization, some organizations do have internal ones, but we're not going to get into those today because those aren't the ones that are going to be particularly helpful for you in terms of staying connected with current patients and acquiring new ones. The next thing we're going to do is quickly look at social media for reputation management. I think it would be unfair for me to empower you with information about social media but not give you information on how to actually manage your reputation there, because the one thing about social media is it opens you up to a great deal of feedback from other people. Now, whether you're in the space or not, the feedback will still happen there, but if it happens to be negative, we want you to be in a place to respond in a way that's going to build your brand versus tear the brand down. And then the last thing we're going to look at today is ways that you can start implementing some of the things that we're talking about today and tools that you can use. Again, if you have questions as we go along, make sure that you type those into the box if you're afraid of forgetting them, because we're going to cover quite a bit of information, and so it might be a little easy to forget if we get too deep into the conversation, okay? So now we're looking at an overview of the major social networks. The first social network we're going to look at is LinkedIn. And let me say this, I'm going to present several social networks to you. These networks, along with the rest of this presentation, are going to be like drinking from a fire hose. I am going to give you a large amount of information in a short amount of time. However, your goal should not be to learn anything in this call. I know that probably sounds really crazy to you. I do not want you to focus on learning, because if you focus on trying to learn, what you're going to do is you're going to try to memorize, and it's going to be overwhelming. Everyone on this call will have access to these notes. You don't have to write this down. All I want you to do is to be open to hear, and if something sounds like it would be a good fit for your dental practice, then you can implement it. So you can treat these social networks especially like buffets, okay, like a buffet. You don't have to eat everything at the buffet. Hopefully none of us do that. You choose which items are best suited for you, okay? So LinkedIn, over 300 million users worldwide. The median age is 41. And so of all the social networks, this is the one that trends a little bit older in age. Not that 41 is old, but it trends a little older than the other social networks. LinkedIn has an average income that's higher than any other social network with the exception of Pinterest, which has a larger disposable income. The culture of LinkedIn is business. It's very important that you understand that each social network has a culture. And so when you're communicating with people, let's say you have one message that you want to communicate to two people of two different cultures, oftentimes you will tailor your message. The reason you do that is so that it's better understood by each person. So, for instance, a very obvious example is if someone speaks Spanish and the other person speaks English, you might give them the same message, but the form of delivery, the format is different because you want them to get the message. And so the culture of LinkedIn is business. That's all you're there to talk about is business. And so this is not where you post cat pictures or baby pictures, although we'll talk about later how those can be extremely helpful in other social networks. LinkedIn is about business. And so this is where you can go to find strategic partnerships. This might be where you go to find nonprofit organizations that you'd like to partner with. Basically building those business relationships. If you're looking at networking groups where you want to go and speak about dental health, again, LinkedIn's the place where you can go to do this. LinkedIn is amazing for getting found. Now, when I say getting found, now this is something everyone should make note of. I'm saying this out loud. It's not physically in the notes, so I suggest that you do write this down. When we talk about getting found on LinkedIn, I do highly suggest that all of you at least create a LinkedIn page, a company page, for your organization. That's different than a person. It doesn't look like a person. It looks different. You can Google LinkedIn company page if you need to see the difference. But I highly suggest you create a company page. Just fill it out. It doesn't take very long to create. They're actually faster to create than a personal profile. But think of all the different terms that someone might type in on the internet to find you. Think about your keywords. Any of you who have ever done anything with your organization's website before, you're familiar with what I'm talking about. Keywords are those words or terms that you want to show up for online. So for instance, if someone looks up social media speaker, I want to pop up for that, especially if they're looking for a social media speaker in Houston. You may want to pop up if someone looks for Houston orthodontist or cosmetic dentistry Los Angeles. You may even put in county information. But here's what's interesting about this. Those words, all those different words or terms, all the different products you offer, services, if those words are nowhere in that LinkedIn company page, you cannot pop up for that when someone searches for it in the search bar. So the one thing I would suggest for everybody across the board, and it doesn't require a great deal of maintenance after you do this, is to at least set up a page. You don't have to keep creating posts on a page. That's not going to be the most effective use of your time. But make sure that your keywords, those words you want to be found for, are included somewhere on your company page on LinkedIn. Okay? LinkedIn is amazing for search. So if you're looking for, again, to partner with certain types of organizations, if you're looking for media coverage for something that you have going on, you can see all the reporters within a 50-mile radius or a 30-mile radius or whatever from your location, and then start to contact them accordingly. It's great for building your reputation as a resource or an expert. It's wonderful for getting answers within groups. So if you're in a group of your peers or some type of other business networking group and you have general questions that you need answers to, it's very helpful. I think one of the coolest examples I ever saw of this is I'm a member of several meeting planner groups. And in one meeting planner group, about 2 years ago, there was a planner who was bidding on a large project. She was an independent planner. She was bidding on the ability to plan this large project for this organization, and then based on their experience, they might hire her to do more events. It was larger than anything she had ever done in the past, and so she actually came into one of those meeting planner groups and posted, hey, I'm not quite sure how to bid on this project. Does anyone have any ideas on how I should structure the proposal? Now, mind you, a good portion of these people would technically be considered her competition, and she didn't give exact information on what she was bidding on. But what's interesting was within 45 minutes, 3 people had shared links to templates for her to use for her proposal. That is a time saver. It's great for collecting testimonials, creating a professional community, and also for finding talent. Now, I don't suggest any of you spend a great deal of time on LinkedIn. I do suggest that you build strong profiles for yourself as well as your company, including your keywords. And additionally, I do suggest that you use it for research purposes. So again, when you need help with something in groups, when you're doing a search, you need to find people that work for certain type of companies, networking events, things like that. That is how I would suggest that you use LinkedIn. Now, Facebook, over 1.28 billion users, the largest social network in the world with a median age of 35. And it's going to trend older over the years. Now, the reason it's trending older, contrary to popular things in the media, which media isn't always accurate, as I'm sure you all know in the dental profession, it's not that people are leaving Facebook en masse. It's that the people that have been using it are aging, and younger people are not signing up for it. So your average 17-year-old now really doesn't have any interest in joining Facebook. And so as it's the people that have been using the service, as they age, and then also as people that are baby boomer age start joining at larger percentages, then we start to see the network trending a little older. This is good in your case because a lot of these people are your target market. Not that young people don't need help with their teeth, but you get where I'm going. This is the network that's most like real life. This is where people communicate very similar to the way that they do in real life, which is also the reason why people can get themselves into a little bit more trouble on Facebook. The culture of Facebook is all about building relationships and community. It's about being social. So it's very different than LinkedIn because while you can share some business-related stuff on Facebook, you should really try to share business-related stuff with a little bit of a heart to it, if that makes sense. Now, this is the social network where you all shine. It's great for building relationships and staying first of mind with your clients and potential customers and partners. When you think about this, when you have a connection on LinkedIn, LinkedIn calls them a contact. When you have a connection on Facebook, Facebook calls them a friend. I want you to think about that. That's significant because when people are referring for services or products, it's much more likely that you're going to be referred if someone says, oh, I have a friend that does this versus, oh, I have a LinkedIn contact. if you've ever had the experience of meeting someone on Facebook first and then in real life second, you will notice that they react to you as if they're an old friend. And so again, this is where you can build friendly business relationships with clients, other professionals. Now, let me say this as well. Sometimes people have a hard time believing that you can use even a personal profile for business on Facebook. And what I want to say is Facebook itself as a network is extremely neutral. It's a blank canvas. And so your experience has a great deal to do with who you've let through the door. As an example, you will not go to your family reunion and use it as a business networking event. That is not very wise. However, if you go to a business networking event and you use it as a business networking event, you're going to have better results. So let's compare this to Facebook. If your Facebook friend list is made up of mostly family members, friends, old college roommates, you are not going to have a business experience. However, if you build up a network around connecting with professionals, around connecting with your clients, then you will have a very different Facebook experience. So again, it depends on the people that you've invited to your party. The issue is not the party or the venue where you're having it. Now, Facebook is amazing for viral messaging. And viral messaging, for anyone who doesn't know what that term means, is basically something spreading very quickly. So instead of in old days where let's go back before all these forms of media, traditional media. If you wanted a message to get out, oftentimes it was one person shouting it to as many people as they could from a stage or telling people individually. Then with the invention of mass media, now you have this situation where people are able to do a commercial and they're hitting all these people. Now, the problem with that is that 90% of people trust peer recommendations, but only 14% trust advertisements. And so social media allows you to spread messages virally, meaning you send a message out to a few people, each of those people send it out to more people, and those people send it out to more people. And so you have the potential to get a critical mass of people so they can keep spreading, but additionally it spreads more as word of mouth or referrals versus directly advertising, which is what you want. It's great for building community, driving traffic for any types of programs or promotions that you have, and it's also great for search and discovery. So let's take a quick look at Twitter. Now, the culture of Twitter is good content and adding value. Many people are confused about Twitter because they go there and it looks like a large amount of confusion. And part of the reason people are confused about Twitter is because they're actually connecting with other confused people on Twitter. If you're connecting with your family and friends, I can almost guarantee you are not having an amazing Twitter experience. However, if you choose instead to just follow the news sources that you typically read in real life, so if you just only followed news sources, now you can get all your news in one place. You can see the headlines coming in from a mashup of your 20 favorite news syndicates in one place and choose the articles you want to read. That's an efficiency tool. You can actually choose to follow just people in your industry. So there's many ways that you can use it. Another thing that many people don't understand about Twitter is that this is where the press lives. All media, all truly large media has a presence on Twitter. So if you're trying to get any type of publicity around anything that you're doing, this is the place to do it. Now, they have over 500 million users. The median age is 31. And this network is even better for the spreading of information very quickly. It's great for observing trends. So let's say that there's a new, a new product or service that's out for people with their teeth, maybe some type of home whitening kits or some type of new thing on the scene, or even this new service that you're thinking about offering. You can go into Twitter and see what people are saying about it, and pretty much ahead of time get an idea of how it's going to work. 3 years ago, Honda had a new style of car. I think it was about 4 years ago. They had a new style of car. And they decided that they wanted to get user feedback. They kind of had the prototype up. They just wanted to kind of show the Honda owners a sneak peek in the awesome cars. And I'm a Honda owner. I love Hondas. They last forever. So I saw, they put links on Twitter and on Facebook. And the Honda people went and looked at the car and ripped it into pieces. I mean, it was a complete disaster. The jokes, the blogs, the horrible comments, it was one of the ugliest cars I have ever seen. It looked like someone watched the Jetsons and said, yes, we are going to make one of these saucers as a Honda. It was bad. Now, the great thing is Honda pulled it. But think about how much time and energy and money they saved by basically putting that information out on social media and seeing how people responded to it. It's great for increasing event activity or engagement. So if you're doing any type of community events, I know many of you do things around the community, you participate in health fairs, things like that. Twitter is wonderful for increasing engagement, and you can even offer prizes for people doing certain types of tweets and engaging with you at these events. And it's great for building your reputation as a resource. Oh, and just to give you a cute idea here, Twitter does not have to be all bland. It's not just words and text and links to articles. I'll give you a cute example of something that happened. I spoke 2 years ago at an event in, I think it was Ohio, and basically what happened at this event was they had a reception, and during the reception, their local zoo brought animals to this reception. I saw a baby kangaroo, and I asked if I could hold the baby kangaroo. They let me hold the kangaroo, and I had someone take a picture of it, and I actually tweeted it out and tagged my husband saying, "Hey, sweetie, I got a new pet." Now, what you all listening probably do not know is that I'm just crazy enough where my husband believed that was possible. And so, of course, his response was absolutely not, return it. And so Visit Columbus, which was the CVB, where we were in their city, they had been following this event the entire time, looking at people using the hashtag, and totally surprised me because I had not been engaging with them by taking this picture of me with the kangaroo and doctoring it up. And so here's what they actually did. They added the text to it, and they sent this via Twitter and tagged myself and my husband as well as using the event hashtag. Reasons Crystal Washington needs a kangaroo. 3, I think the Roo already loves her. 2, free boxing lessons. And 1, who wouldn't want more portable storage? Thanks for visiting Columbus, Crystal. So again, you can make this fun, and they were able to make this fun by listening, and so it gave them some great publicity. Another cute example is during the NBA lockout. Kevin Durant got on Twitter. He's bored, had nothing else going on, says this lockout is really boring. Anybody playing flag football in Oklahoma City, I need to run around or something. One of his followers, George, says, I got a game tonight in Stillwater. Kevin asks if he can play. George asks if he can catch. So as you can see, using Twitter can actually be a really fun and interactive experience. However, what I will say is Twitter has a very long learning curve. Unlike Facebook, which almost comes naturally to people, it's just a matter of getting creative, it does take a while to master Twitter. And this is not the social network that's going to see the best payoff for most of you in dental practices. And so I think it's fair for you to be aware of it. But I do not encourage most of you to really try to be active users on it for your practice, because if you had to choose between the major social networks, this is not going to be the one that's going to get you the best results. However, for some of you, you're already actively using it and doing a great job. So if you want to take that on, please do it. But I'm just saying, if you were to compare the different social networks, that's not going to be in my top 3 list for you, but it is one to consider. The next social network we're going to look at is YouTube. And many people don't look at YouTube as a social network, but it is by definition. What's interesting is YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine, and it's owned by the 1st largest search engine. What's also important to understand is that video is king when it comes to popping up in search. You know how we talked about those keywords earlier in LinkedIn? And really keywords apply all over the internet for the most part. But with YouTube, it's about 50 times easier to show up on the 1st or 2nd page for your keywords using a video from YouTube than it is to use any type of written text. So if you're trying to pop up higher in search, consider creating YouTube videos. It's great for getting found. It's wonderful for search. I'm sure everyone on here knows that you can find out how to do pretty much anything in the world if you look on YouTube. There's always a British guy that will tell you how to do whatever it is you're trying to learn how to do on YouTube. What's really cool is, let's say that you can't figure out how to do certain things on Facebook. Maybe you're trying to start a page and you don't know how. Or maybe you want to use a hashtag on Twitter and you don't know how. You can actually go to YouTube and type in your question, and oftentimes you'll find a video that will show you how to do what you need to do on the other social networks. So YouTube should become your new best friend. It's great for doing interviews. This could be with clients or your doctors. I especially think that you should consider doing this with your doctors, because it's a great way for them to connect with an audience and give some practical advice. Now, let me say this. It really just depends on the dentist's personality. And this isn't me being funny, but when it comes to video, you can't really fake being a people person. And so you have to know the personality of the person you're wanting to film. If they're going to come off very, very dry, then that may not be what you want to do unless you can find a way to make humor out of it and have it edited really well so that it's funny. And it's also great for driving traffic for promotions that you have. Pinterest. Pinterest is the fastest growing social network, but it is 87% female. And so if you're trying to reach men, if most of your customers happen to be men, Pinterest is certainly not going to be the place to help you. It creates more referral traffic than Google+, LinkedIn, and YouTube combined. Now, the reason why this is interesting is Pinterest, when we talk about creating more referral traffic, that means that people on Pinterest are more likely to click through and take an action, whether that's to make a purchase, get a gift certificate, whatever it is, sign up for an email list. People on Pinterest are more likely to click a picture and take an action. Now, for those of you that are familiar with Pinterest or aren't, you can add pictures to boards on Pinterest so that it's kind of like a montage, and you're organizing things by topic. Now, I'm going to give you a really powerful tip if you want to use Pinterest for your practice, because remember, you're choosing from the buffet. So some of you may want to use this and others won't. But if you're going to use it, here's my number one Pinterest tip for you. When you're uploading pictures to share on Pinterest, maybe it has to do with a whitening service that you do, maybe it's Invisalign, whatever it is that you're doing. When there's pictures that you're posting, do not upload them from a computer. Do not just upload them from a drive on your computer. What you want to do is you want to pin them directly from your website. Because here's what happens. When someone pins something on Pinterest and it is shared or repinned, what happens is they may or may not take the text that goes along with that. And so when someone sees this picture, if they're used to clicking on things, so if they click on it, if you actually just upload it from your computer, it goes nowhere. However, if you upload it from your website, no matter how many times it's shared, it will lead people back to that website. And so if you think about it, the really excellent thing to do is to actually pin pictures from your website, but put them on a page on your website where people can actually sign up to do an inquiry or for more information, or where they can join an email list and get a coupon for the type of service that's advertised in that picture. So that's your power tip for Pinterest. If you get nothing else, if you want to use Pinterest, that is one thing you should know. It will make a huge difference in your Pinterest experience. Now, the culture of Pinterest is sharing and giving tips. Sharing and giving tips. That's why there's so many recipes there, do-it-yourself projects, all those types of things. It's about sharing and giving tips. And so if you have maybe some cool natural, some natural remedies for whitening your teeth, or for getting a brighter smile, or for fighting bad breath, or whatever it is, this is a cool place to write those tips down, because people go there to share tips. Now, it's also great for crowdsourcing, concept boards. If you're having any type of event, let's say that you sponsored something at one of the local elementary schools. If you've taken pictures, adding those pictures to a board on Pinterest is a really cool way to wrap up the event, and everyone can see the pictures in one place. Of course, you can do that exact same thing on Facebook as well. So again, just depends on your strategy. It's great for driving traffic for promotions and sales, and driving excitement for upcoming events that you're doing. Now, the last one that we're going to take a quick look at is Google+. Why are we looking at, or actually I think, is that the last? It might be the second to last. Yeah, second to last. Google+. The reason we need to be aware of Google+ is because it's the network owned by Google. That is the main reason we need to be aware of it. Now, Google+ has a lot of people scratching their heads. It looks kind of like Facebook, but they don't have the amount of active users as Facebook does. They tend to trend a little bit towards more males, a little bit younger, a lot of people in the art and technology scene. So if those aren't your customers, not a whole lot of value in being there. However, while you don't have to be active on Google+, you definitely want to have a Google Places profile. And the other thing you want to understand about Google+ is if you have a blog for your practice, you may want to consider just posting the link to that in your Google Plus company profile or company page. The reason why is that can actually help you with search engine optimization from that article. And it's also great for content production. So you can use Google Hangouts to basically host free webinars, similar to what we're doing right now with different experts, people talking to each other. You can record it, and it'll upload right into YouTube for you. So again, if you're trying to produce content, let's say videos, and you don't have expensive equipment to do it, but you do have a nice webcam, or a few different experts in nice webcams. Maybe you have a couple dentists that you want to interview or a couple people that are part of your practice. This is a low-cost way to actually produce good quality video. And it's much better than Skype in terms of quality of video. And the last social network we're going to look at is Instagram. Now, Instagram is this insane social network that is picture-based, very similar to Pinterest in that way, but it's not really organized by topic. It works sort of like a combination between Pinterest and Twitter in that you're uploading pictures. You can create hashtags for them to index what people are talking about. But really, it's just eye candy. A lot of people love Instagram just because it's just fun visuals, not very much text. They don't really have to think. They can just look and enjoy. Now, this may or may not be a network that you want to use. It's popular in terms of its age demographic. It does trend a little bit younger than the other social networks, but there are actually professionals on it as well. It's great for user-generated pictures, promotions, as well as word of mouth. So even if you encourage your people when they come in to take a picture of themselves, you can do that. So we've just done an overview of the external social networks. Now we're going to very quickly look at social media for reputation management. And actually, let's see. I just want to see if anybody's typed in any questions so far. Okay. Not seeing any questions right now, so we're going to keep going then. I just wanted to check it out by section, but I know many of you are going to type those in at the end. So let's go ahead and take a look at social media for reputation management. Now, when we talk about reputation management, it basically means what people are saying about you online. Now, one of the things that people tend to believe about social media is the invention of social media made it impossible for you to control the narrative about your company online. You no longer have control of what people say about your company or even yourself for that matter. Here's the kicker. You never had control. The only difference is with social media, you can actually see what people are saying. You can see what people are posting. Even on a personal level, I often hear people say things like, oh, you know, I can't control the fact that friends will post pictures of me that are unflattering or with drinks in my hand, and I don't like that. That is true. So it can spread a little bit faster. But at the end of the day, you don't know how many people they would have shared those pictures with if social media hadn't existed. It may not have gotten to as many people, but still you had no control over what people were saying or doing regarding you. Anyways, so the blessing of social media is now you have a chance to intervene. So 91% of American adults own a cell phone. 56% of American adults own a smartphone. That is a potential 228 million citizen reporters. When I say citizen reporters, what I mean is that we are always potential subjects of a news story in whatever we're doing, whether we're talking about your dental practice, walking down the street, or whatever. And sometimes accidents happen in medical practices or anywhere. And I just want to kind of show you how things work on social media because, again, remember, it's kind of changed the way that people interact with brands and how fast information spreads because so much of it becomes viral now. So then, once upon a time, pre-social media, let's say there was some type of negative incident, something that happened that wasn't very good, not good for your brand. The incident would happen. You would give a scripted response. It would be your PR person or a representative from your dental practice. You would give that response to the media, and then the media would inform the public. Very linear. That is how PR was done and reputation management was done prior to social media. Now, there is an incident. There is an observer. This could be the person who is the victim of this incident or who just saw it, whatever it is. Now, they're going to post it on social media and tell the public. Or they might post it on social media and inform the media. Where does your response come in here? They went directly to the public. They went directly to the media. Now where it gets interesting is the media or the public will then start posting their own outrage about that incident because they got it straight from the Observer. The media reports on that outrage back on social media, so the public has another dose, and it's going back and forth. You still haven't given a response. We still don't know where you come in here. But what we do have here on this right-hand side is the cycle of doom, because the public and media keep informing each other. And so we have to be very smart about making sure that as soon as something happens, we observe it very quickly. And it's just kind of an interesting story about a survivor who captured a plane crash on camera, which was really bizarre to me, because as this man's plane was crashing, rather than him taking stock of his life and trying to figure out how to possibly escape, he decides to turn on his GoPro camera, and the entire crash is on video. Not good for that airline. Now, 6 steps for social media crisis communication, okay? So if something negative happens dealing with your practice, maybe one of the dentists, someone working for you, and we've seen this before. It doesn't mean that it's the practice's fault, but what happens if an employee is involved in some type of public altercation or in something, maybe they're part of an organization that is brought to light that's not very positive? You can actually still have to deal with this type of damage control, even though technically it has nothing to do with your organization. First thing you want to do is already have a crisis communication plan in place that includes social media. In other words, who responds, how do you respond, who is authorized to respond, who is not. That's very, very important, because you don't want just random people that are part of the practice responding. You want to make sure that you listen. So as soon as something's coming out, you want to make sure that you're listening so that you're able to acknowledge immediately. Speed is key. You want to manage expectations in your response. So if you have to do some research into something, you can't give a immediate response, that's fine. But what you can say as a form of response is, we're highly, this is something that highly concerns us. We're looking into the matter, and we should have some feedback in the next 48 hours for everyone. Thank you for staying tuned. We look forward to keeping you updated. Something along those lines. Provide the narrative. So once you do find the information, you provide the narrative. There's an airline that about 3 months ago, one of their employees accidentally tweeted out a picture involving a toy plane landing someplace with a lady that was inappropriate. It was definitely an X-rated picture. Now, what was interesting was, of course, when that picture was first tweeted, there was tons of outrage because it was actually tweeted at a customer who was complaining. So people were freaking out, and rightfully so, because who does that, right? That's the question. Who does that? And so the airline responded immediately saying they're very, very sorry about it. They've deleted the post. They've apologized to that customer. They apologized to everyone who's been affected. They're going to do some research into the situation and keep everyone updated as soon as they find out information. Well, come to find out, the social media management tool that they were using, and we're not going to talk about that one today, they actually made a very simple mistake. There's somebody that tweeted the airline that inappropriate picture. The airline employee who manages social media was trying to report that picture. So they copied that link, and they were trying to report that picture, but on accident, they actually pasted the wrong link and replying to another customer, and that's how that ended up there. So the airline actually provided the entire narrative on what happened and then explained why they were not firing that employee, because people are people and people make mistakes, and it was in no way intentional, and we can all have technical problems like that. Now, there were people, of course, right after the decision was made. For the next 48 hours, they talked about how irresponsible it was and how horrible. But the fact of the matter is, no one is talking about that in the media right now. It was fine. And then turn the crisis into a lesson or an opportunity. So, for instance, I think a good example is when you look at Kickstarter. Kickstarter is an organization that you can actually go and raise money online. There's actually a gentleman right now online who's raised over, I think, $30,000 for a potato salad recipe. But typically people raise money for wonderful things like business startups or building orphanages in Uganda. Not potato salad. But in this particular case, there's a gentleman who started a Kickstarter project soliciting funds for a book that he wrote that was really, really degrading of women and painted women in a very bad light. And I'm sure all of us, especially considering so many of us are women, and then we're also, whether you're a woman or not listening, involved with the Lucy Hobbs Project, kind of hits home. And so people started to contact Kickstarter requesting that they take it down. Kickstarter did not. However, upon further review, Kickstarter looked over the situation. They realized that they had made a really serious error, and so they took to their blog and they wrote this blog post entitled "We Were Wrong." And so again, you can look in the notes and see the entire blog post, but they just went into details explaining how their decision was made in the first place, what mistakes they made, why they're so sorry it happened. The project raised $25,000 for that book, and they can't take it back by their own terms of service. But at the end, you see second to last paragraph, fourth, today Kickstarter will donate $25,000 to an anti-sexual violence organization called RAINN. So now, because this happened, RAINN has a $25,000 donation. So they've really turned this around. As a result, if you originally looked at Kickstarter's blog before they came out with this post, people had angry tirades everywhere, calling them sexist and just all kinds of things. Now, after this post, people are posting a positive outcome. Thank you. I can't imagine the week you guys must have had. People are actually identifying with them and feeling sorry for them. But what you have to understand is even when you do a great recovery, there's always going to be this guy. And that whole post, there were hundreds of posts talking about how wonderful Kickstarter was for reversing their stance, but there's always going to be that one negative Nancy. It's okay. You can't please everyone. Now, if someone gives you a negative review online, whether that's through Yelp or whether that's through Google or any place else, my suggestion to you is whenever possible, make sure you're listening. I'm going to give you some tools that will help you listen. You still want to respond immediately. The longer you let something fester on social media and on the net, the bigger it's going to become. But here's the kicker. You always want to direct the next action to be offline. So if someone has a complaint about their service or an experience they had, a really great response would be, I'm really sorry to hear that about your experience. I'm really interested in learning more to see what we can do to make this up to you. Please call Ann and give a phone number, or please contact us and give us an email address, preferably a phone number. The reason you want to do this is because now you're taking the conversation offline so that you can actually resolve it, voice to voice. People tend to be more cooperative that way. Anyone else watching that interaction sees that you care, sees that you're interacting with people and that you want to correct the situation. But even more importantly, if that initial customer who is complaining is crazy, because, honestly, sometimes not all customers are created equal. There's some nuts out there, and I think we'll all agree to that. They may want to continue their rant online. Now you do not say anything else because you've already offered an offline solution. And so anyone else reading that post from that point on sees, oh, wow, this company really cares. They tried to help. This person has just lost their mind. We can ignore what they're putting. So it still shows you in a very positive light. That's the way you want to do it. Now, here's some resources for reputation management when we talk about listening. The first thing that you want to do is use Google Alerts. Everyone in here listening to my voice, if you're listening to me, you should be using Google Alerts. If you don't know what Google Alerts is, Google Alerts and you'll find it. What you can do is you can put in a term or keywords that you want to follow online so that when someone posts a new blog about it or something, you will be updated. All of you need to have the name of your dental practice in Google Alerts. Now, another thing is you might even want to use Google Alerts to find dental tips. So you might even do a Google Alert for dental tips. So it gives you things to talk about online. But no matter what, you should at least do a Google Alert for your practice, possibly for your dentist name, and maybe even for your name, just depending. I actually have a Google Alert on my name. The next tool that you want to take a look at is TweetBeep. TweetBeep is basically Google Alerts for Twitter, because Google Alerts does not tell you when someone posts about you on Facebook or Twitter. It's basically about the net. TweetBeep will tell you if someone posts about that term or your company's name or whatever on Twitter. You just set up a TweetBeep, and in both cases, Google Alerts or TweetBeep, you will get an email telling you that that term or your company has been mentioned. So that way you're not just scouring Twitter for hours every day or having to do a search. The information comes to you. So it becomes an efficiency tool. This is the least you should do. This is how you can just make sure that you at least have your ear to the ground for those things that you can resolve quickly. The last one, for those of you that are interested in Pinterest, and actually even if you're not, many of you do not believe that you're on Pinterest. You may not have an official account on Pinterest. However, many of your organizations are still on Pinterest. If you want to see if you are, you can actually type this in, www.pinterest.com /source/ whatever your website is, okay? So if it's smiledental.net, then at the end it would be smiledental.net. It's not another www in there. What will pop up is it will show you all the people who have shared pictures from your website. Now, if you see that a blogger who blogs about dental tips and hygiene and natural teeth whitening or whatever it is, if you see that they have pinned from your website onto Pinterest, make sure you thank them. The rules of engagement online are exactly the same as the rules of engagement in person. And so just like if you hear in person that someone is spreading wonderful information about your services and sharing your materials with other people, you would thank them. You do the same thing online. And really, if you want to blow people away, especially if someone's a key contact, send them a handwritten note if you can find their contact information. Because people receive so few handwritten notes, I guarantee you that blogger or influencer, that person who's bragging about you, they will really appreciate you. And you're encouraging them to continue sharing. Now, one other thing I just want to point out. This is actually T-Mobile's page. They were doing something, the 7-night stand challenge. I have no idea. Well, actually, that's when they were sending people on all these adventures. But I'm pointing here to, you'll notice in this bottom corner, there's an arrow pointing to the 5,148,844 likes. If you're using Facebook and you ever become discouraged because it seems like your local competitor is doing better than you, click on that if it seems like their numbers are insanely high. What you can do is you'll actually see the cities where they're getting the most engagement from recently, especially if you see them have like a really big spike in a small amount of time. If you notice that all their likers are from Indonesia, they bought their followers. And so now, or their likers, so now you don't have to feel bad anymore that you're not keeping up with them. And you can actually do this with any page if you want to see how many people genuinely have the number of likes that they have. You might be surprised, even outside of the dental industry, to find how many pages are padded with likes. Some very, very famous, popular, well-known people pad their pages. I am not suggesting you do this. I'm telling you this so that you will not be discouraged based on your numbers. Okay? And the last thing that we're going to take a look at today before we get into questions is implementation and tools. Now, we've talked about several social networks. But what's important for you to understand is that 64% of Twitter users and 51% of Facebook users are more likely to purchase the products or services from businesses they're connected to on social media. They want to see you there. Part of the reason why is the same reason I talked about on that Facebook slide earlier, is that you're staying first of mind with people. And so as they connect with you, they're more likely to use you. Also, something to keep in mind is that you are in the referral business. Very few people just open up the white pages or the yellow pages and just choose a dentist or just randomly look online to find a dentist near them. I will tell you, I've admitted earlier I'm a little crazy. I've done that once before, and the results were terrible, and I will never do it again. So now, any type of medical professional I always use as a referral. In that instance, I thought it would be something simple, didn't think it would be that complicated. It ended up into, it actually turned out to being a situation with dental surgery. It was bad. It was so bad. But my point is that you want to connect with people on social media. So again, your existing patients, they're more likely to refer you as well, because if they see a friend saying, you know, hey, looking for a new dentist in blah, blah, blah area, they're likely to just respond and say, well, my dentist is, and if you're on Facebook, they can actually tag you. Tagging is when you use the @ sign and then start to type the page name, and it turns into a little link that people can click on and go there. And so that is worth its weight in gold for you. You want people to do that. And I see that every day. But if you're not on Facebook, then that's less likely to happen because you have not made it easy for your existing customers to share your information. Now if they see it, let's say they're in a hurry, they're checking Facebook at work, which they shouldn't be doing, but most people do anyways, and they just want to give a quick response. Well, if they just do a link to your Facebook page, they can do that very quickly. My dentist is Smart Smiles Dentist. You should check them out. Smart Smiles Dentist is a tag now. That person can just click on that, go to your page, get all the information you need. However, if you're not on Facebook, now that person has to take the time, look up in their email or in their phone book, or their phone, find your contact information, your website information, all that stuff. They're not going to do it. In fact, as an example, I My insurance agent is not on Facebook. I've tried to encourage her to get there. She just refuses to get on Facebook. So now when people ask for insurance agent referrals, I refer one of my two really good friends that are insurance agents because it's easy. I don't have to search for information. And so make it easy for people to share your practice. Now, let's take a brief look at, since we're talking about implementation, it's kind of important that we understand the different generations because this is going to impact your social media strategy. First generation we want to look at is traditionalists. They're also called the silent generation or the great generation. The next one is baby boomers, born between 1948 and 64. We have Generation X, we have Gen Y, and then we also have Gen Z. Many of you think that Generation Y is a complete mystery. We'll get into that. I will say if Gen Y gives you the heebie-jeebies, wait until you meet Generation Z in the workplace. Currently, for most of you, you're dealing with baby boomers, Generation X, and Generation Y in the workplace and as customers. Now, here's 3 misconceptions because, again, as you're trying to get your team on board and to get some of your customers to post things, you kind of have to understand that people are in different places based on that age category. Misconceptions. Baby boomers aren't good with technology. Many baby boomers believe this themselves, and then sometimes other generations as well, but I get that a lot. A lot of baby boomers apologize to me saying, you know what, I'm just not techie. I'm not good with technology. The next misconception is that Gen X is negative. The last misconception is that Gen Y feels entitled. The truth of the matter is that baby boomers did not grow up with that much technology. It's not that they're not good at it. They didn't grow up with much of it. So here's an example of a little timeline I created that shows the commercial adoption of home technologies. You don't have to be able to read everything, but on the left-hand side, you'll see in red the different generations when they were born. And on the right-hand side, you'll see these different types of technologies as they were invented. What you will notice is that they increase a large amount as you go down the chart. And so the trick is not, the simple truth is baby boomers are fine with technology. It's just that they're not used to having to adapt at the same rate as younger generations. And so when you look at people that are Gen Zs, they were born with all this technology and it's constantly changing and there's new versions of it and there's 2 iPhones a year and I mean all these different changes. To give an example, I'm a Gen Y. I'm a very old Gen Y, but I'm a Gen Y. And most people think, oh, you're born with a computer. But that's not the case. Home computers really didn't start to become a thing for me or at my age level until people were in high school. And even then, it wasn't across the board. In my lifetime, I remember 8-track tapes. I remember cassette tapes, CDs. I remember now we're MP3s. And so understand that it's not, I'm a Gen Y again, it's not that Gen Ys are better with technology. We're so used to adapting that when something new comes out, when a company says, hey, we're going to roll out, we're going to start using Facebook, I want you to learn this. Gen Ys, the difference is we just don't freak out because we're used to the changes. Baby boomers are not used to so many adaptations, and so they can freak out. But again, they're just as capable of learning technology as the next person. Gen X is not negative. They're just no-nonsense and goal-oriented. And so if you want to start using social media more and more in your practice, you have to show them how this is going to benefit the practice and them personally on some levels. Is it going to make them more efficient, effective, or connected? Is it going to help us get more customers so that we can afford to give out more raises? How is it you're going to sell Gen X's? It needs to be something that's logical. And then the last one is, it's not that Gen Y's, it's not that Gen Ys feel entitled, but Gen Ys value efficiency, and we're a little narcissistic. So, to give you an example of narcissism, and I just thought I'd give you all a little chuckle very quickly, there's an account on Twitter called Olympic Selfie. And so a selfie are pictures that you take in a mirror of yourself. The reason that selfies started is originally phones did not have the ability to reverse the image. Like right now, you don't have to stand, for most of us, you don't have to go and stand in a bathroom mirror to take a picture of yourself. You could actually flip the camera on your phone, pushing one little button on your phone. But that wasn't always the case. So a true selfie is taken in the bathroom mirror. And so this is an example of what Gen Ys do with their spare time. So we have this lovely option right here. getting very creative. Apparently she's very nimble, kind of going on safari in the house. We're not even sure how he's taking this picture. And a nice romantic dinner for one in the bathroom. Now, the reason why I'm even showing you this is that, one, to give you a giggle, but two, yes, Gen Ys are a little narcissistic, but if you have Gen Ys on your staff, who better to take fun pictures and upload things to Instagram or Facebook or whichever social networks they are that you want to use. Also, when we talk about efficiency, if you have a website and you want people to be able to schedule appointments on your website, make sure that your website is also mobile responsive, meaning that on a smartphone or a tablet, your website, it doesn't look the same way as it would look on a normal computer. There's less options, it's more simplified, but it's easier to push the buttons. Gen Ys act based on efficiency. We do not have a lot of patience. Last night I was looking at the website of a clothing company that had beautiful clothes. They had a sale that was going to end in 24 hours. There were items I liked, but their website, it wasn't mobile responsive. And so trying to click the buttons and fill in the information, after 10 minutes, I just gave up and said, forget it. Obviously, they don't want my business because they didn't make it easy for me to buy. So if you want to take appointments online, make sure you think about those Gen Ys, and also Gen Xs and Boomers do it from their phone as well, and make sure your website is mobile responsive. Again, so when they pull it up on their phone, it looks different than the way that it looks on a normal computer. That's the efficiency part. Now, as you start getting started, first thing to remember is onboarding. You need to get your team on board first, existing clients second, and that can also include not only your team, but when we talk about your team, it's not just the people in your office, but maybe your strategic partners. And then lastly, your new clients or prospects. If your own team is not using social media and helping, you can't expect your clients or prospects to get on board with your messaging. It's not going to happen. Create a very basic posting strategy. This does not have to take more than one page in chart form on a Microsoft Word document. Are you going to post on Facebook 3 times a day? Are you going to post, not 3 times a day, 3 times a week? You certainly don't want to post 3 times a day on Facebook. People will unlike you. If so, are you going to post one dental tip, one cute insight into the practice, and then one picture from a community project a week? Very simple. But just create that strategy, make sure it's written, and make sure it's posted somewhere, preferably on a wall where other people can see it, so then that way it's something that will become a habit. The next thing is keep in mind the difference between business versus personal pages on Facebook specifically. And it can actually happen on LinkedIn as well. There is a business page that you can have on Facebook, or a company page, same thing with LinkedIn, or personal profiles on Facebook or LinkedIn. Now on Facebook, a personal profile has friends. A business has likes. That makes sense because if you think about it, let's look at McDonald's. No one can be friends with McDonald's. Honestly, I don't even like McDonald's. But if you did, you could like it. That's a business page. And so you want to make sure that you have your company's business page set up as a business page and not a profile. Because if not, at any random date, Facebook may choose to shut down your profile because you're in violation of their terms of services. The last thing that I want to mention here on just this part of the strategy is third-party sharing. There's a resource called Hootsuite, Hootsuite. I'm gonna post that shortly. I'm getting some feedback. I think somebody might need to mute themselves. Hello, hello? Okay. Whoever, at this point I'm hearing a lot of feedback with myself, so someone's computer, the volume's coming back through to the mic.
Am I on mute?
Are we good?
No.
Okay, I'm not quite sure who that's coming from, but we're going to keep going anyways. I'm going to try. It's a little loud and distracting, but I'll try to go with it. Wow. Okay, so the last one is third-party sharing. So when we talk about Hootsuite, you can use tools that will allow you to post to multiple social networks from one place, and you can even plan them out on a schedule. Now, the benefits are obvious to that. It will help you save time. So if you're having a hard time staying consistent, tools like Hootsuite are an amazing gift to you. However, please bear in mind, specifically with Facebook, that when you share from a third-party website. So if you're using Hootsuite to push out your content on a timetable, it's going to get less likes on Facebook because Facebook prioritizes it lower. So it's not really a question of one being right or wrong, using it or not using it. It's more a question of, are you trying to be efficient? Is that more important, or are you trying to get more interactions? And only you can answer that. Again, there's no right or wrong. It depends on your schedule. It's better to post something than nothing. So if Hootsuite is the only way that you're going to be consistent, then do it. However, realize that you do even have the ability to create posts on timers within Facebook itself for your pages. Okay? My suggestion to everyone here, if you're going to choose one social network, outside of creating that page on LinkedIn that everyone should for the company, focus on Facebook. That's going to be the one that's going to come the most natural to you, where most of your customers are going to already exist. And what I would also suggest is you might want to like or follow Binko on social media, because you can actually see the type of posts that they create that are getting a lot of good interactions. Now, I actually had the privilege of even looking at some of the people on the call here. Well, and actually this is an example I'll show you from Binko's own page, where they actually posted one of the associate's daughters getting a cleaning in Dr. Paoli's office in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. Very, very cute. You'll notice that this one post got 41 likes, so people are engaging. The more people engage with your page, the more your future posts will pop up in their results. So it increases the chances of your future pages popping up. Please understand that children and cats get a lot of views. I don't understand the psychology behind it, but if you have a picture of a cat getting its teeth cleaned, or a baby getting its teeth cleaned, or a baby holding a cat with them both getting their teeth cleaned, post it. That will get you some interactions there. And then going to as well. Now, this is an example from Fort Wayne Dental Group, where they just kind of did something cute, figuring out which belongs to which of the doctors. And so you'll see here that it had 12 likes, 11 comments, just something fun and light. So it doesn't always have to be 100% business and specials or tips. You can make it a little fun too and build community around it. Here's another great example from Halton Orthodontics, where somebody actually came on their page and said, these are the nicest people I've ever met. I'm so glad we were recommended to come here. And so they came on the page. Shannon came there and posted that herself. So again, think about when Shannon created that, everybody on her friends list had the ability to see, and if they were looking at her feed at the right time, that she said this about this practice. And imagine what that means for people that live near her that saw that and were thinking, you know what, I actually need a new orthodontist. We don't even always know how much impact our post or our customers' posts are having. But I will say this, that's why it's important when you do have inquiries or new clients come in, always ask about how they heard about you. If they say Facebook, great. And you might even say, well, was it from our page or did someone post about us? Get as specific as possible without being annoying. That way you can start to track this type of information and you can see the true ROI, return on investment, for your time spent on social media. Because contrary to popular opinion, even if you're not paying for expensive services and all these extras, social media is not free. It costs you time. Now, these are just some great tips for staying safe and employed. You can actually read these in the notes themselves. I'm not going to go through all of them because I want to make sure that I leave at least 10 minutes for questions at the end of the presentation. But these are some tips that I would suggest that you share with others that are part of your practice. Also remember that 89% of consumers turn to Google, Bing, or another search engine to find information on products, services, or businesses prior to making purchases. So this does mean that if they're looking for you on Google, your Facebook profile, your Twitter profile if you're there, your YouTube, all those things can pop up in search results as well. So even though people aren't so much turning to the internet to find service providers in the medical field or for their dentist, they will look you up on there before coming to you, especially if we're looking at Gen X's or Gen Y's. We look up everything online. Okay? And as we get ready to bring it to a close for questions, one other thing I want to put in mind here is as you're on Facebook and you're trying to get interactions, it's very, very important that you compare yourself to like. I don't want you looking at ShoeDazzle or McDonald's or any of those bigger companies or anybody that even a smaller company that sells women's earrings and think that you should have the same level of interactions that they do. I've created something called the Sexy Spectrum. And it really applies to social media. You need to know where you fall on the spectrum. Now, the great thing is for what you do, You're not the casket. You're not on that end, okay? Because, for instance, mortuary services firms, no one wants to interact with them online for the most part. It's not an exciting experience for most people. On the other hand, beautifully gorgeous women's shoes, right? So you know that an organization that sells amazing women's shoes, they're going to get a lot of interaction. You're somewhere in the middle. So what that means is you should be doing better than Fred's Mortuary, because there's a few that are on there. But at the same time, you're not going to get the same level of interaction as someone who has amazing clothing products or something and does trunk shows. So make sure, again, that you're being fair to yourself and your organization and assessing your efforts, okay? And then as we get ready to bring it to a close, when you're measuring your results, and you can measure them using Hootsuite, that's the one where I talked about where you can post to multiple social networks from one place, and you can give a link so that people can read your blog posts or different things on your website. Hootsuite will give you the analytics to see how many people clicked on that link to see your blog. That's good information. Sumall, this is a service you can use. It's very low cost. Actually, I think right now they might even be going through a free period where you can actually measure your social media growth over time. You can plug in all the different statistics from your different sites into one place, and it'll measure them all out so you can see how you're doing from week to week. And then Google Analytics. Everyone should have some form of analytics on their website. This way you can see how many people are visiting your website from Facebook, from Google, from Twitter. You can see how many people are clicking the inquiry or set an appointment from those websites. This is amazingly valuable information. So again, you can measure result through engagements, which are comments or shares, click-throughs, email list growth, all those different things. But at the end of the day, the real way to measure it is how many new clients are you getting? How many inquiries are you getting? If you're doing community service and you're asking people to volunteer for something, how many volunteers are you getting? This is how you really measure your results. But you have to have tools in place, and you have to ask people questions when they come through the door or call you so that you have that answer. Do not simply measure social media growth. This is one of the number one issues that I have with social media case studies. Most of them measure the success of using social media with social media growth itself. That is insane. Nobody listening to my voice, you're not paid in Facebook likes. Could you imagine if sales were down for your dental practice by 90% and you were one of the people that's in charge of, some of the marketing there? Could you actually go to your dentist and say, I'm so sorry sales are down by 90%, but I increased our Facebook likes by 100,000 people? It doesn't matter. So that can help you when you look at social media interactions and engagements. It helps you know how healthy your posts are in terms of engagement. But at the end of the day, you want to measure new clients, inquiries, and if you're doing community service type things where you need people to volunteer with you, volunteers. Those are the things that you're measuring. Now, as we get ready to bring this to a close, if you'd like a copy of the Social Media Why, as a gift from me and Binko to you, you will be able to get a complimentary copy of the book by going to crystalwashington.com/Binko. And this link will also be in the notes that go out today. But here's the kicker. Go ahead and get your book today, because if you click that link, tomorrow you're going to see that price is going to be back up to $9.99. And I don't want you to think that I lied to you, okay? And if you want a copy of these notes, you would just send a text message, C Washington, all lowercase, very important, to the phone number 22828. Do this in the next 10 minutes. You're going to receive response text asking for your email address. Once you go through this, by 5 p.m. Central Standard Time today, you will receive a copy of the notes. You'll also receive a link so that you can get the book. Or again, you can always go to crystalwashington.com/Binko to get the book directly. So I guess we'll go ahead and open things up for questions now, if that's okay. Karen asked, can she get a copy of the timeline of technology adoption? She'd love to share this with her faculty. Of course, that'll actually be included in the copy of the notes. You're going to get a PDF version of those notes. So anything that you saw on the screen, you will have access to.
So just want to reiterate, Kathleen earlier gave you the actual URL for our Lucy Hobbs project, so it's thelucyhobbsproject.com. And, we would encourage you, as Crystal said, it would be great if you could follow us on Facebook. We also have a Twitter account. And finally, Crystal, you just put up, if you want to explain again on how to get the notes. So you actually just text C Washington to 22828. And
yes, sir.
then type in C. Washington, all lowercase. So, all right. Well, Crystal, we thank you. It's always a pleasure. And,
Well, thank you for
hopefully
having me
people-
again.
All right. Great. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a
Thank
great
you
day.
so much.